going to be the high school project, but this is the second State of the Community Breakfast. The WFEE has partnered with the Chamber of Commerce, and so I would like to welcome the Chamber of Commerce folks and Patrick Fortin to come up and say hello to you. I think this has been a very valuable collaboration. Last year was the first time we did it, and I'd like to thank Kathy Alexander for working with me on it. And this is our second annual State of the Community Breakfast, and I hope that we have more. So Patrick, if you want to say hi to everybody, and then we'll get started.
Thanks, Karen. I don't have a ton to say. Just thank you for having us. We're always happy to partner with you guys, and I know this is a big issue in town, and I've got 4 kids in school, so you don't want to know my position. This is supposed to be neutral, so I'm going to stay out of that and let everyone get educated. I think it's important to learn, make sure you understand what's going on so you can make a good choice. So thanks for doing this, Karen. Thanks for having us, and thank everyone for coming.
Thank you very much. And indeed, the point of today's meeting is to educate folks on the potential if the high school override does not pass on Tuesday, and for those of you that aren't aware of what the project entails, to go through that a little bit. And as you came in, you saw there are posters about that. I think Richard Howard is going to speak to us first, the town manager, and then after Richard, Bill McAuliffe, the superintendent, will be speaking. We structured this to have a lot of time for questions, not a lot of PowerPoint. It's going to be a little bit more informal. So Richard, thank you.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Let's see, this is really predominantly about this high school project, so we're going to keep it mainly to that, and I'll give you a little bit of information, but Bill McAuliffe will tell you about all the great things that should come about for Winchester High School as a result of the proposed renovation project. I'm going to touch on a couple of things I talked about last year, just to keep my kind of theme a little bit consistent. About what I think is important for kind of a state of the town address, things revolving around real estate and finances. We talked a little bit last year about the fact that the real estate market in the town was great, even considering the downturn in the economy and the tightness around the greater Boston real estate market, and that theme has kind of held true for the remainder of 2013. I think all of the brokers, many of whom are probably represented in the room today, would tell you that the Winchester market is particularly strong. The average value over the course of 2013 has probably crept up a little bit closer to $800,000. The inventory remains really tight, and pricing on acquisition points is pretty good. In general, that together with some other points that we talked about last year, crime rates and being fairly consistently down, finances in the community with certain pressure points that we feel for a variety of issues that can't get covered every year in the operating budget, relatively good. The school system is doing great. This particular facility, this entity, Winchester High School, if you hadn't heard, and I'm sure you probably have, received the Blue Ribbon designation during the course of the calendar year here from the federal government, one of only 2 high schools across the country to be noted for its excellence in delivery of education, and considering that the staff, and I know I saw Tom Gwynn here as principal, the faculty and the students and the parents that support the system here are doing it in the facility that they're doing it in. It's quite an accomplishment. So all the kind of outward signs that can't hear you. Sorry about that. All the outward signs that we generally touched on and talked about a little bit last year seem to be heading in the same direction. So the general point would be the state of the town in the manager's estimation is excellent. The proposal for Winchester High School, again, the bulk of the program Bill will tell you about, all the advantages, has been vetted very, very closely by a series of entities, most importantly by an organization called the Mass School Building Authority, MSBA. They're really the state entity that oversees all of the school building initiatives in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And in the end, they become the partner to any proposed either rehab or new school building plan for all of the communities in the state. Their job is to really take a look at what any community is proposing to do, and whether it's rebuilding or building a new high school or elementary school, whatever the project may be, and make sure that the community is doing it in the most economically feasible way. So at the end of a feasibility study, such as Winchester has gone through, that entity determines whether or not what is being proposed is within the statutory and regulatory guidelines that the MSBA oversees, and whether or not, as a result of that analysis, the state will participate in granting money to the community in the effort to either build a new school or, in the case of what we're talking about here, substantially rebuilding Winchester High School. So that's a very rigorous analysis, and at the end, the state, in this case, has determined that they will fund about 44% of what they call eligible cost, and there's a lot of nuancing that probably take too much to explain in my presentation to you, but Bill probably will touch on a little bit. But the point I'm trying to make here is that for anyone who would have a concern or a doubt about the viability of the project and whether or not anyone other than the town officials who are responsible with the presentation and the oversight of the project, if you were concerned about that, you should know that the state gives it a very, very vigorous going over. And in the end, they've approved the facilities grant that the project is moving forward on and that the town is voting on next Tuesday. So rough arithmetic is that the proposal is that we'll spend $129 million. About 85 of it will come in the form of local assistance that'll be voted on Tuesday for the override, and about another $44 million comes from the state in the form of that grant. When the MSBA voted this a couple of months ago, the Winchester project was one of 5 projects that were approved on that given day for a facilities grant. It was the 4th lowest per square foot for all of the projects that were approved that day. So it gives you another sense as to the fact that the costs are in place here. Right behind it were a series of other proposals that were put in for feasibility study. And as you can expect, all of the costs for all of those proposed projects are a notch higher than the estimated cost for rehabbing a Winchester High School on a per square foot basis. So for instance, there was a proposal for a Boston-based high school that was about $250 million in estimation to be built out for the same number of students, almost the same amount of square feet, in comparison to our budget cost of about 129. That is proposed to be built a couple of years out. So they're going through their feasibility study. They'll come into the state in a couple of years. And at that time, their grant amount will be incrementally above what Winchester's proposing for its school under the proposal that the MSBA approved. What happens if the town doesn't approve the override on Tuesday? Well, what we're left with is this facility. The estimate, just for kind of taking care of the issues for what we see on a daily basis and what we don't see that can be behind the walls that has to be fixed as well, is anywhere from 50 to about $70 million. If we were to take it on a piecemeal fashion, we would probably be doing it over a 10-year. Well, number one, we don't have the money to do it. So all of that capital investment and outlay would have to come in the form of overrides that would be proposed to the community on an incremental basis, whether it's 10, 15, or $20 million at a time, probably over a period of about 10 years. And probably trying to avoid ripping things out and putting them back together within the course of the school year. So as you can imagine, to do it on a piecemeal basis would be very intrusive, and in the end, and it's hard to give a kind of an off-the-cuff analysis like this, but in my estimation, as a manager and as somebody who, I'm not responsible for it, I kind of sit and measure the EFPBC's progress and submittal, make my recommendation to the board here. But the little bit of experience I had was having done a lot of these and being responsible for them in Malden. We did 7 new facilities in Malden, rehabbed Malden High School, which is almost architecturally the mirror image of this particular school, and did that in the early mid-2000s. But you know, I would feel comfortable in saying that if we were to approach it on this piecemeal basis, it would cost us more money, it would be more intrusive, and you would not get an educational facility upgrade that is being proposed in the full $129 million proposal that's before the town, before MSBA today. This is the best way to approach overhauling the facility, rather than trying to tackle it on an override by override basis over 10 years, where in the end, in our estimation, we would spend as much money. What you're going to hear from Bill on as far as what gets produced as a result of the proposal that's being voted on Tuesday is far better. It's faster, more comprehensive. It sets this facility up for the next 50 years, and that is the MSBA requirement, that the town, any town, but in this case the Winchester proposal, meet their standards for putting a facility in place that'll serve school children for the next 50 years, so that some group of people will be here 50 years from now thinking about what has to be done in form of an upgrade. And when you think about it in those terms, you're talking about, you know, let's roughly estimate 1,200 kids a year, 50 years. That's 60,000 students. They're not all new, right, because you're going through 4 years. But every September to every June, for 50 years, 60,000 students will be using the facility that the town will put in place. And if you do the arithmetic at $85 million, I think I did the arithmetic right, but it was early this morning when I did it because I just thought of this thing. You know, it's about $1,400 per student on that basis. And I think anybody who would be putting up buildings, you know, if you're analyzing whether it's office space, commercial space, on a per square foot basis per student, it's probably a reasonable price to start out your educational program with. If you need a building, you need teachers, you need books, to put the building in place at $1,400 a student on an annual basis. That's one general way to look at it. So, Bill, want to tell them how great this is going to be? If the
Richard, thanks for providing those comments. Just imagine that in a modern high school facility that is technology rich, students and staff and members of the Chamber of Commerce and WIFI could go through a breakfast meeting and not be interrupted by calls for students to come to the office, because what will be happening in a technology-rich building is that the people in the office will be just sending a text message to those students. Come to the office. They'll get that text message on their laptop or perhaps their tablet or some other kind of mobile device. And that's really just a little kind of peek into the future and what can be accomplished in a modern day high school facility, a facility that is technology rich. And that's just one very small component of what Winchester High School, the building, the facility, can be under this proposal. Richard went through and talked to you about the rigorous process that Winchester has gone through to get to the point where we are today with this proposed high school project. So I'm not going to go into the details. We'll leave that for questions if you really have questions about that process. But we're here, $129.1 million high school facility. It's called a renovation addition project, but it is, for all intents and purposes, a rebuild of Winchester High School. The core of this facility, the academic wings, the 3 wings, will be totally rebuilt. They'll be stripped down to the concrete floors and the concrete structures, the support structures. Everything else is gone, and then it's totally rebuilt. It will be a new facility. The auditorium and the gymnasium get a total renovation, and what will happen as a result is a modern facility, technology-rich, with instructional space that meets the demands of the current curriculum and current pedagogy, current instructional techniques. A project that will have more than enough room to handle our growing enrollment. If the project doesn't go forward and we remain in this facility under its current structure, we're going to have to house, over the next 5 to 6 years, an additional 200 students. 200 more students are coming through these doors, and we'll have to put them somewhere. Over the years, this building has been reconfigured, the space inside has been reconfigured, can't tell you how many times. From the very beginning, when this building was designed in the late 1960s, just 3 or 4 years after it opened, the library, which was a 2-story facility, housed about 30,000 volumes of text, of books. The top floor had to be closed off for the library, and special education space had to be relocated to that portion of the building, because special education was not envisioned. Space for providing special education services wasn't part of the educational planning process in the 60s when this building was constructed. Science. Back in the 1960s, and I'm old enough to remember hearing my older brothers and sisters talk about what high school was in the 1960s. Now, that may be a little bit of a small lie. But in science, laboratory experiences, the hands-on experience happened once a week in a cycle, in a double lab period, out in a large laboratory, and groups came together. That's not the way science instruction happens today. Science instruction is a much more hands-on, experiential-based program where staff have to have the flexibility on an ad hoc basis from lesson to lesson, from day to day, to be able to move into the laboratory and have students doing that experiential, that hands-on learning. That can't happen in this building. It's very difficult in this building given the structure and the way our instructional science space is set up. That will all change under the proposed project. We'll have modern-day laboratory facilities. The lab facilities and the academic, the instructional component, all in one room, all of the modern equipment, all of the technology that goes along with the current science curriculum. Our library is being designed and will become a library media center. Today, students don't learn about research skills from going to the Dewey Decimal System card catalog and then finding a resource on a stack somewhere. Sometimes we do, and that's still a good skill to teach. But our students today are doing research online. They're using online databases. And in order to be able to effectively teach students those skills, and this is not teaching students how to get online and go to Wikipedia. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about online, true research skills using databases that provide just an infinite amount of more information that we could possibly have gathered through research when we went through high school. And the skills to do that correctly need to be taught. So our library really becomes a library media center. Our librarians are library media specialists. They know how to do that, but they need the space, they need the equipment in order to do that. Our students are using the library and will be using the Library Media Center not just to learn content, but also to create content. That's what our students do today with technology. they're creating content for each other, they're creating content for themselves to help them learn more effectively. That's what this high school project will do. The project has been designed so that when I talk about the academic wings being stripped down and totally rebuilt, that gives us the opportunity to redesign and relocate the instructional spaces in a way that provides us flexibility well into the next 50 to 60 years. Right now, this facility was designed and is structurally organized into the learning area or departmental structure. That's the way we operate today. It's more traditional. That's been very effective for us. Winchester High School is a 2013 Blue Ribbon School award winner, well deserved. Our students work hard, our staff work even harder, and our parents support our students and support our staff to be able to achieve these kinds of recognitions. The problem going forward is that, and I'm reminded, driving through town over the last week, we've seen the signs: strong schools, strong community. Richard talked about the real estate market and the strength of the real estate market in town. There are many, many, many reasons why folks want to come and live in Winchester. The proximity to Boston, the relatively easier commute as opposed to maybe living somewhere else, the train that takes you there, the values of this community. But one of the most important aspects, and I will say it because I think it's true, is our strong school system. There's no doubt about that. And our strong schools keep our community strong, keep our real estate values high, and this project is really an investment, not just in our schools, but in the community and in the future of our kids. If the override does not pass, and we go down the road, as Richard described, of a series, years and years, of doing piecework construction projects, just to make the facility whole again, to bring it up to standards around energy efficiency, around making sure that we keep moisture penetration out, making sure that the electricity and the mechanical systems are working the way they should. That will be disruptive, and we'll really, as a community, be taking a risk. We'll be taking a risk that our staff will be able to continue to perform at the high level that they're performing at now. And what impact will that then have on our students' performance? There's a real risk there. And we've been able to do a good job all these years. We want to continue to be able to be a top achieving school system in the state. And although that takes strong parental support, hard work by our staff, and motivated students, among other things, being in a modern facility that meets the current demands of the instruction, of the instructional practice, is really important. And so this project is I think vital, not just for the community, but for the school system. Richard talked about what happens if the override does not pass. What happens if the override passes and we move forward? We have a modern facility where the space and the instructional space meets all of the current standards for educational programming and practice. It gives us the flexibility to adjust as we go forward. It provides the space we need for our increasing enrollment, and it rebuilds this facility so that all of the deficiencies that now exist, and there are many, and we can go through the list when we open it up to Q&A, but all of those issues are mitigated, they're taken care of, and we have a facility, a strong educational facility that will meet the needs of Winchester students and the Winchester community for years and years and years to come. So I'll leave it at that. I think we'll open it up to Q&A, Karen?
I think that would be great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sorry?
You might want to just say Winchester, hsproject.com for anyone who.
WinchesterHSproject.com is a good place to look for other answers to your questions. And I also wanted to recognize Principal Tom Gwynn, who's joined us this morning. And he has graciously offered to do some tours. If there's anybody that hasn't toured the building after we finish here and you have time, he'll be happy to take you around. So does anyone have questions? Yes, sir.
Bill, you said the high school was designed in the late 60s, and my son went to school here, and it's structured around pods. So there's classrooms around a big area that's a lot of wasted space. What's going to be done in the design of that so that wasted space, that communal area that was part of the teaching at the time, what's going to happen to that?
That's a great question. So by rebuilding the pods, we're actually taking advantage of some of that wasted space now. Part of the program design is the addition of 10 more core classrooms. So 10 additional classrooms that will house English, math, science, social studies, foreign language classes. Those spaces are needed for the increasing enrollment. By redesigning the pods and rebuilding the pods, we're able to add that space within the current structure. There will be some additions that will be part of it, but those additions address other specific needs. There'll be a new cafeteria. They're called dining commons now, and a new kitchen and servery area. But that'll be relocated from the back of the building and will be right at the center of the building, at the entrance of the building. That will allow us to use that space more effectively and efficiently as well. Right now, given the design of this space here and where it's located, we basically use it for a short period of time before school in the morning. We use it for I know the administration here feels like it's about 3 hours at lunchtime. It's probably a little shorter. But we'll be able to use that space for small group instruction, larger group instruction during the day. And given its location and the design of it, we'll also be able to use it very effectively after hours for community use, extracurricular use, and truly take advantage of that redesigned space. Back in the pods with the academic space, we're able to redesign the space by including those new classrooms, those 10 new classrooms, redesigning the science instructional areas for 12 independent instruction lab spaces. The Library Media Center will be located on the second floor. Right now it's on the first floor. It'll move right upstairs, right where it is now, and that puts it right in the center of the academic area. We want and we need the Library Media Center to be the hub of learning in this school. That's what it's being designed for, and by relocating it there, that's what we'll be able to achieve. So the project, while providing the space we need for enrollment, also takes advantage of relocating and redesigning the layout to meet all of the current educational programming and instructional needs as well.
Bill, you might just mention the light while you're talking about the redesign of the pods.
Thank you, Jennifer. So the way the pods are structured now, if you go up to the second and third floors, all of the corridors, so the access to the classrooms, are on the exterior of the building. And what happens is, as a result of that, 65% or so of our instructional space is located on the interior of the building without access to natural light, to natural ventilation. As a matter of fact, there might be one place in this building, I haven't come across it, Tom, have you, where there's an operable window?
I think there's two science classrooms.
Two science classrooms that have windows, operable windows. So, but let me just repeat that. Operable windows. It's not that the windows don't work and don't operate. This facility is designed not to have them at all. There are no windows that can be opened. And so what the redesign does is pushes the instructional space out to the exterior of the building. There'll be lots of access to natural light, to natural ventilation. We'll be able to open windows, get fresh air in. Of course, we'll have a state-of-the-art updated.
Lots of insulation.
Yes, lots of insulation. Speaking about insulation, I think I have this right. Of all of the town facilities, so that includes both schools and other town-owned facilities, of the total energy cost that the town pays on a yearly basis for all of those facilities, the high school piece is 30% of that cost. Almost a third. That's what it costs to heat and provide the energy resources necessary for this building. So the new building, of course, will be taking advantage of all of the modern technological advances around energy efficiencies, and we expect that number will be reduced dramatically, that ratio. In terms of the insulation, what I find fascinating, maybe you won't, but I find it fascinating because I just did an energy audit at my home. My house was built in 1959, and the person who did the audit went into one of our closets, which is located on the outside of the building, and drilled a hole into the exterior wall. And what he found, and I was hoping he didn't find this, but he found that there's no insulation on the outside walls of my house. So I think it's something I'm going to have to do. That's the same case here, which is interesting. My house was built in '59. This was built in '71, opened in '71. Anyway, what you have, the exterior skin, see these cement masonry blocks right here that make up the wall? So the exterior walls are made up of those blocks. They're maybe 6 inches wide, 12 inches long, and then they go right to the outside, and they're covered on the exterior by the brick veneer. That's it. There's no insulating value there. And we have these large windows, the window systems, 1/4 inch. Well, originally they were 1/4 inch glass. They're now 1/4 inch plexiglass, certainly on the first floor. There's little if no insulating value there. Under the proposed project, all the exterior walls get stripped, they're gone, and then they're rebuilt with different materials, insulation, and that's all part of the energy, the energy design, et cetera. Yes?
When you were talking before about the paving, and then you said that people would eventually be taxed or what have you, in this project, are those types of technology or technological advances being built into that fiscally, or is that going to require a separate fiscal initiative and/or a separate fundraising initiative specifically for technology to be accessible to students?
So that's a great question around technology, and many of you in this room know that we struggle with technology right now. We don't have enough resources to effectively bring technology to our staff and our students. And one of our big issues now in the system is our technology infrastructure. What will happen here at the high school is that, again, everything is brand new. And all of the costs, the $129.19 million, all of those technology components are built into that cost. As a matter of fact, the MSBA, the authority that Richard talked about, the state authority that we're partnering with, and we need to remember, I think it's very important, I can't say it enough, the state is paying for 35%, just about 35% of the total cost of this project. So Winchester share, when voters go to the polls next Tuesday, although the understanding is the total cost of this project is $129.9 million, Winchester's share of that project cost is $85 million. And $85 million gets us the whole project. It gets us the new facility, all of the educational programming upgrades. It gets us the additional space. The alternative to not passing this project, as Richard talked about, that is estimated to cost $50 to $70 million, just gets us the facility upgrades. It doesn't get us the new science labs. It doesn't get the relocation of the space. It doesn't provide the additional space for enrollment. And so when the way I think about it is $85 million, and we meet all three of the goals of the project as proposed, versus, you know, $50 to $70 million. If you're doing this, if you do that over 10 years, $50 million isn't going to be the number over 10 years. That's going to incrementally increase. And that's been estimated to be about 4% a year. So you're really approaching the $85 million. And so if the project doesn't pass on Tuesday, what eventually is going to happen is the town will spend close to that $85 million, but only get a third of what the proposed project will get us in terms of those three goals. So the technology piece, just very quickly, in partnering with the state, of course, they have rules and they have regulations that we have to follow. And in terms of their share of the cost, they will participate in paying their share of the cost for technology, but they do it at a certain level. And that level, it sounds like a lot of money, but it really isn't. They'll participate in their share of the cost at a level of $1,200 per student for technology, times the number of students the building's being designed for, 1,370. So that comes out to whatever it comes out to. I used to know it. What we have built into the project, because we've done some research, we've worked with our architectural team, we've gone out, we've talked to other communities that have just recently built high school projects, and what they have learned is that the $1,200 per student for technology is not enough. So we have budgeted in the $129.9 million an additional $600 per student. And that will cover all of the technology needs. So that's the brand new infrastructure plus equipment. Yes?
Speaking of the students, I may be too old to face this. When I was in the 8th grade, I went to Lincoln School at from 12:30 to 5:30. And in the morning, from 7 to 12, that was the senior high. My question basically is, what are we going to do with the students?
If the project doesn't pass or during construction?
No, when it does, after it passes.
After it passes, that's right. I love that kind of question. Excellent. So we have also built into the cost is about $2.5 million of temporary space. So we'll be setting up temporary portable classrooms on the other side of the auditorium in the parking lot area. And the project will be built in 3 phases. And while the different phases are going on, we'll have some students who will be in classrooms in parts of the academic building, and also some students in the portable classrooms. What that accomplishes is that we won't have to have a differentiated schedule. We'll be able to effectively, in phase 1, for example, I think it's better if I actually talk about the phases. So in phase 1, once the project passes on Tuesday, the design team goes right into the final design development. They'll also be developing what are called early packages. And the early packages will allow us to begin construction next summer, 2014. And we'll start phase 1. Phase 1 is scheduled to take 14 months, June of 2014 to September 2015. Phase 1 will be the construction of the new administration and guidance addition, about 4,600 square feet, that will be right out in the front of the building attached to the auditorium. The construction of the new cafeteria and kitchen, which will be located in the courtyard, the front courtyard. The construction of the library media center, so that will come into the courtyard, be on the 2nd floor. And then the demolition and rebuild of Pod A, which is the academic wing that faces Skillings Road. While that's going on, the classrooms in Pod A, the administration and guidance space, will be moved out to the portable classrooms. Students will still attend classes in the pods B and C in the portable classrooms. Once phase 1 is completed, so for September, the start of school, September 2015, we will then be able to occupy the brand-new Pod A, the guidance and administration space, the cafeteria, dining commons, and the library media center. And phase 2, again, 14 months, June 2015 to September 2016. Phase 2 will be the demolition and rebuild of pods B and C. So the classrooms in pods B and C will be relocated to the temporary classrooms. We'll have use of, after one school year, we'll have use of about a third of the brand new building. Phase 2 will be completed by September 2016. We'll be able to occupy the entire 3 academic pods, the dining common, the library media center, the administration guidance wing. Most of the temporary classrooms will be then removed after phase 2. We'll still keep a few. And then phase 3, another school year, June of 2016 to September 2017. The auditorium and the gymnasium will go through a complete renovation, and the project will be completed in time for the September 2017-2018 school year.
Probably one more question.
Yes,
So I have a question about,
Oh.
sorry.
Sorry.
Somebody else go ahead.
go ahead.
I have a question about the special education facilities and any opportunities for inserting transition planning into those facilities, and how is that being envisioned?
So right now, the amount of special education space we have is about 6,000 square feet less than what the state guidelines would suggest, given our student population. So designed, what's being designed into the program is 6,000 more square feet. We're almost doubling the amount of special education space. The space is being strategically located throughout the building, which is best practice. We want our special education services to be integrated throughout the building with all of our academic programming. And there'll be appropriate space that will be designed for transition life skills planning. We have a life skills program now. I think we do an effective job with that. We're getting better with those kind of services. But the redesigned and new facilities will really help us take that programming especially to a whole new level.
One more, Craig?
Yeah, you mentioned that new schools will be more efficient than this school. Is there going to study on how much money will be saved by the town each year?
So I don't have the answer to that question. It's assumed that there will be a savings. The design team and the consultants that work on that are always, they don't want to answer that question.
It also comes in the form of cost avoidance. A lot of times there's more energy used, but it's used more efficiently.
Right. So what Richard just said is the potential savings often comes in future cost avoidance. You know, the conventional wisdom is that in a new facility with upgraded technology, for example, there's more power that will be used, but that power will be purchased and used much more efficiently. Now, you know, that's what we hear, and the assumption, but that goes on an old-fashioned assumption that, you know, you're plugging in, you know, laptops, you're plugging in computers. I envision that as we go through this process, I mean, almost every device, technology device that will be used, you know, in a wireless capacity. So I think that, you know, we don't have an actual dollar amount, but certainly the energy will be used much more efficiently. And I would imagine that percentage, that ratio of you know, the total amount of energy cost that the town utilizes, and compared to, and the high school share of that will go down.
Bill. And for those who follow it, it's LEED Silver Plus. So it may not get all the way to gold, but it's beyond silver. And the target is 40% efficiency over code. Is that?
That's the target, yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you to both our town manager and our school superintendent, both of whom have been very gracious in giving of their time. And I know all of you want to get back to work. I'm sure they'll hang around for a few moments if anybody had other questions. Is there anybody who would like to take a tour of the high school that hasn't already? Oh, come on, it's a really fun thing. We've got Walter, we have Cece, we have Alan. All right, Tom, you've got your group. Give perhaps a quick tour of the high school. And thank you all very much for coming.